Chris the Gentleman Billam-Smith against Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez. This is a unification fight at the Cruiserweight division. It's happening on the 16th of November in Riyadh as part of the Riyadh season situation. It's a Golden Boy card. It says it's Golden Boy and Boxer, but the only boxer fighter on there is Chris Billam-Smith. This fight probably wouldn't have happened if Riyadh did not get involved, if Sheikh Sheikh never got involved, because these guys want buku dollars for a mediocre fight, and this is what everybody wants right now, but it's happening. So we've got a unification in the Cruiserweight division. We've also got William Zepeda versus Tevin Farmer. William Zepeda was supposed to fight Shakur Stevenson next, but Shakur got the hand injury, so he's having a ticker over fight, a stay busy fight with Tevin Farmer, who at one point he wanted to fight Tank, which was quite some years ago, 2017, 18, something like that. He had a long layoff and now he's back, ex-champion of the IBF at lightweight. So this is a good fight. He's the closest thing to Shakur Stevenson that William Zepeda is going to get at this present moment. He's a pure boxer, but he likes to stay in the pocket. He will have a tussle. Let's see how this fight goes as well. Zurdo Ramirez. Zurdo in Spanish means southpaw, and Zurdo is obviously a southpaw. Now, he has always been big for the weight class he has fought in. He started off at middleweight, super middleweight, and he stayed there for a while. He started his career in 2009 when he was 19 years old, and he's now 33. And during those years, he stayed at super middleweight for a while. Won the WBO title at super middleweight, kept on defending it, and then he moved up to light heavyweight. In 2019, he moved up to light heavyweight. And when he moved up to light heavyweight, he fought 6 fights at light heavyweight and then moved up to cruiserweight, ultimately winning the WBA title against Arsen Goulamarian in the fight previous to his fight now with Chris Billam-Smith, which is a unification fight. Chris Billam-Smith, on the other hand, has always been cruiserweight or heavyweight, and most of his career has been at cruiserweight. He started boxing, or he started his pro career in 2017. By the time he started his pro career, Zurdo was already 33-0, but he was still in the super middleweight division at that time. And Chris Billam-Smith has made his way up the rankings in the cruiserweight division, which is not a very popular division. But he moved his way up, and he had his first loss against Richard Riakporhe. And 10 fights later, he comes back as a WBO cruiserweight champion after beating Lawrence Okoli and defending it once. He then fights Richard Riakporhe in a rematch and avenges his loss, which I predicted Richard Riakporhe to win, because obviously he won the previous fight. I thought he would have been able to make the necessary adjustments with the confidence that he's already beaten him to then win the fight, which didn't happen. Chris Billam-Smith made the adjustments and he went on to win the fight on a unanimous decision victory and carries his WBO title into this unification with Gilberto Ramirez. Who do I think wins? Now, Gilberto Ramirez was always in the smaller weight classes or in the lower weight classes, super middleweight and light heavyweight. He was always a pressure fighter. Come forward, throwing a lot of punches. He has got 30 KOs. He's got 9 more KOs than Chris Billam has fights. Chris Billam has 21 fights with 1 loss, 13 KOs. Gilberto Ramirez has had 47 fights with 1 loss, no KOs of himself, and he's knocked out 30 man. So you can tell who's got more experience. He hasn't knocked out anybody in the cruiserweight division, but he's only had 2 fights at the cruiserweight division. But he has changed his technique from being a pressure fighter to being more of a boxer, puncher / pugilist specialist, pure boxer. He has a lot more movement in the lateral sense now. Instead of just coming forward, he can go backwards and move side to side. He's more lateral with his movement. His punch output is roughly the same, but his power hasn't necessarily carried up to cruiserweight. These guys are a lot bigger and they're a lot more acclimatized to this weight class, and they're used to taking shots from cruiserweights. As I said, he's only had one cruiserweight fight, which he won against Billam-Smith. And now, going up against Chris Billam-Smith, I'm not thinking he's going to knock him out, per se. But I do believe his experience in the boxing world and his longevity in the boxing world. He started his pro career 8 years before Chris Billam-Smith started his pro career. And he's had a more illustrious career than Chris Billam-Smith to this point. So, with that being said, I believe that Zurdo will win this fight on I think he's actually going to win unanimous. I think it's going to be unanimous decision victory on the cards. I don't think it's going to be a split. Even though I believe that Chris Billam-Smith has improved a lot since he has won this title, I don't think he's improved enough to outwit Gilberto Ramirez enough to win enough rounds for it to be a split decision. I think it will be competitive in most of the rounds. I just think that Gilberto Ramirez will edge each round enough so to win the majority of the rounds clearly. Now, Chris Billam-Smith has got the X factor of having more power than Gilberto Ramirez. He's a bigger guy than Gilberto Ramirez. He's stouter, and from the eye test, he looks to have more power than Gilberto Ramirez. Gilberto started off in the super middleweight division, and he was knocking out man down there. But coming up to this division, you've got heavier guys with a lot more punch resistance. And I've seen Chris Billam take some heavy duty shots from cruiserweights. Not to say that's a good thing, but if I gauge it from that sense, it seems that he has better punch resistance than it may look. So therefore, I believe that he can survive the shots that he's going to get given to him from Gilberto Ramirez. Plus, I believe that he's got enough defensive prowess to block enough shots or to elude enough shots where he doesn't get knocked out. I believe he's going to get touched up a lot. I believe he's going to take a lot of shots. But I don't think he's going to take enough shots flush to actually stop him. Unless it gets to a point where Gilberto buzzes him and then pounces on him, throwing a barrage of punches where the ref has to say he's stopping it. Like a barrage of punches with nothing coming back, and maybe Chris Billam-Smith on the ropes, trying to cover up, taking shots, and unable to protect himself where the ref has to say stop. That's a possibility. I don't think it's a probability. It's more possible than probable. I see Gilberto Ramirez winning on a unanimous decision victory, and that's my prediction. And then we'll talk about what's next for the cruiserweight division in terms of the champions, because then this is a unification fight where one of these fighters will have two of the major belts, the WBA and the WBO. And so we'll talk about the other fighters in this weight class with the belts in a coming up video after the fight, in my fight reflection video. So that's it for now. I've got Gilberto Ramirez winning on a unanimous decision victory, and I'll see you guys in the next video.